It's Newstalk KGVO 1290 AM and 101.5 FM. It is time for the Last Best Beer Show. That's right. We have our very own Ryan Newhouse. And, sir, what is on tap?
Oh, hello. Thanks, Ryan, and cheers, Missoula. Welcome to this week's episode of the Last Best Beer Show. We'll be joined in the studio today by the founders of DraftWorks in Missoula, and we'll talk about how one famous beer is going vegan. But first, now that it's November, people are already starting to plan their holiday parties and gatherings. So if you're in need of Montana beer for your event, I highly encourage you to check out Warden's Market and Deli at 451 North Higgins. They stock over 60 kegs of local, regional, and national beers, and they're available in as little as 5-gallon kegs or as much as 16-gallon kegs.
And they stock my favorite strawberry beer by Sam Smith, the organic Sam Smith strawberry beer. That's where I get it at.
Oh, delicious. I don't know. Do you get that in the 5 gallons or you get that in 16 gallons?
Well, I get it. I get it as much as I can. But I get it in the bottle.
Oh,
unfortunately.
Perfect. That'd be a lot to go through. You'd have to really like strawberry.
I do.
Oh, good. Hey, also this week, I wanted to let our listeners know about a new program that DraftWorks Brewery is behind, and it is with Volunteer Missoula. So they're launching Pints for Partnership program at DraftWorks. And this is really cool. There's a new organization called Missoula.org, and their aim is to increase volunteerism and collaboration and communication in Missoula. So with DraftWorks and the new Pints for Partnership program, there are 5 local Missoula organizations, and you can find out which ones those are at the DraftWorks Brewery Facebook page. But volunteers with these 5 organizations earn free beer for volunteering.
Yeah, just for themselves alone, not only helping out a good cause, but also, and remember, you can always sign up to be a part of this program as well.
Absolutely. Yep. Get the details at volunteermissoula.org or ask DraftWorks about their participation. And it's unique because this will tie into what we'll talk about a little bit later today is our first ever business and brews as part of the Last Best Beer Show. I'm very excited about that.
Remember, 365 and 24/7 at newstalkkgvo.com.
I'm joined this week by co-founders and co-owners of DraftWorks Brewery, Jeff and Paul. They have now been open at 915 Toole Avenue since October of 2011, so 4 years this year. Jeff, Paul, welcome to the Last Best Beer Show.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, man. So you guys just tapped one beer that I always look forward to. It is the Mexican Chocolate Porter, right? The Last Rites. Is that one that you guys have done now? How many years?
This is our 4th year doing it.
Oh, sits there. So talk about that beer. What's unique and what's special about that one in particular?
So originally, Zootown Arts Council approached us to do a seasonal release beer in honor of Day of the Dead, which is November 2nd. And we said yes, and we kicked it around. It definitely has a Mexican heritage related to it, and so we thought Mexican, and then we thought fall porter, chocolate porter, and that's where it got a Mexican chocolate porter. And it's been one of our best beers every year.
It absolutely is. It's good style. I've confessed many times porter is one of my favorite styles of beer to drink. You get a little bit of spice with the Mexican chocolate, and it's all around good times. Now, we might see this. Now, every week you guys do at DraftWorks a Cask Wednesday. Is this something we might see on Cask in the future?
Yeah, we definitely have, I think, 3 or 4 different casks that are utilizing Last Rites. Kind of a nutmeg vanilla oak. I think we have some roasted peppers in one. And it's something you'll also see at the Dram Shop. So they'll be starting to serve our casks as well. And I know Last Rites will be down there on the 6th of
November.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. So get down there and try that. We love Zach and Sarah at the Dram Shop. They do great work down there. So for listeners that might not be familiar with the concept of cask ale, real ale, what is that process like to serve beer from a cask? And give us a little history lesson.
Yeah, so we, from kind of day one of opening 4 years ago, we wanted to dedicate a weekly cask. And so it's a old English style of serving beer both from the beer standpoint itself and from the mechanisms and the way it is served. And so really the way cask, the changes that happen to the beer is it's naturally carbonated. So it's very much on point with bottle conditioning as a home brewer. So once the wort is fermented into actual beer in the fermentation vessel, we then can steal a cask worth, which is about a 10-gallon stainless vessel that looks like an old wooden cask, but we use all stainless just from a sanitary standpoint. And then really what you're doing is you're adding just a little bit more sugar and a little bit more yeast to that cask, and then sealing the cask up, or we call it buttoning it up. So there's no vent or no way for gas to escape the cask. And what's happening is the yeast is consuming a little bit more sugar in the cask. And one of the major byproducts of yeast consuming sugar is CO2 gas, but the gas has nowhere to escape out of the cask, and it's locked into the liquid, and so you have naturally carbonated that beer. Whereas most breweries with their everyday production of beer, a lot of people force carbonate, which means plugging CO2 into the beer and making it carbonated, whereas cask is utilizing the organism yeast to do that for you. And then we serve it at about 51 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very traditional.
Now that's warmer than you would serve your other beers at, correct?
Yep, and we always like to point out that it's not warm beer, it's warmer than you're used to. And so we really hone in on our staff to let people know that it's kind of cellar cave like temperatures. It's not offensively warm. And a lot of chemical changes happen inside of that cask when it's served at 51 degrees. So any of our beers on draft, slightly above, right around 40 degrees, slightly under 40, that are force carbonated, you will definitely pick up the differences when then served naturally carbonated at about 50 degrees. And kind of a fun thing too is when Guinness came out with the nitrogenation of beer, that was their effort to mimic the effects of natural carbonated cask, but be able to offer it in a package form. And so that really, they're the sole reason why nitro exists in the market, and that originally was an attempt to go after the effects of a cask. So you'll get that cascading effect on our cask the same you do from like a nitro beer. That's been my favorite experience, and when I'm going there on Cask Wednesdays or take friends there, is just to watch that glass of beer get poured. It's beautiful. It does have that cascading effect, and it has sort of the thicker, creamy head. People that have had Guinness on tap, they draw the little clover in the top. It's almost like a latte, but you get that there as well. But if you guys haven't been there, check it out. It's every Wednesday. You can go to the DraftWorks Facebook page, all their social media. You can find out exactly what they'll be tapping that Wednesday. You guys do a great job with that. Now, I want to talk about, let's talk about what's on tap. What do you have on tap right now, and what's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks that people can look forward to? We did talk about the Mexican, Last Right Mexican Chocolate Porter, but what else can we find at DraftWorks?
So right now, actually this last summer, we kind of embarked on a program of trying to do some kettle souring, and one of our beers right now is our May West Huckleberry Sour, and it's been very well received. We used an awful lot of huckleberries in it, and people like it a lot. And me and my soccer buddies, we get a growler of the May West and a growler of the Last Rights. We blend them in the cup, and we call it Last May. And so it's a huckleberry chocolate thing going on. It's lovely. But anyway, so the Huckleberry Sour has been a continuation of, and we did a Berliner Weiss, and then we did a Raspberry Sour, and then a Key Lime. And now we're on the Huckleberry. The next one up in that series will be a Salted Caramel Apple Sour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we said too.
Oh, I might have to bring in my own apple pie just to try that with that, and who knows? But that's well, congratulations. I mean, sours have they've been popular, right? Or I guess for a long time, but now we're seeing more and more in America.
Yeah, it's really an interesting market to watch. It's personally, it was an epiphany I had 3 years ago at Great American Brew Fest. I had drank way too many IPAs, and then I had a sour, and I'd never really liked sours before that moment, and then all of a sudden I was craving them, and I think that's maybe a natural evolution of a palate, and people who drink a lot of IPAs and get saturated by the bitterness, I think all of a sudden a sour becomes quite quenching.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started on big, thick Russian Imperial Stouts, but you could drink 3 or 4 or 6 in a tasting session, and it's really sweet and it's cloying, and then you go to the IPAs, and then you sort of evolve even more into sour. So we look forward to seeing those on tap real soon there. Oh. You guys have always done an excellent job with your community support. I mean, you guys have served your beer at 915 Tool for many of the years when you first started opening, or after you opened. But tell us about this new program that you have to support some of the local nonprofits that you just launched.
We have been doing Cheers for Charity nights every Tuesday, basically since we opened, and we definitely don't take credit for that concept in a tap room, but more than happy to be another brewery a part of that system, where we donate a portion of pint sales to a different nonprofit every single Tuesday. And we've gotten to build relationships with nonprofits in town through that program, gotten to know volunteers individually for different nonprofits through the tap room. And one of our ex-employees started Volunteer Missoula, which is a very cool resource for matching volunteers with different nonprofits. And so we kind of came together with her and thought, let's come up with a fun way to kind of incentivize and say thank you to the volunteers of nonprofits that don't always totally get recognized. And even if they're not looking to get recognized, we'll just go out of our way and do it for them. And so we, this year, we will be matched with 5 different nonprofits, and each one of those nonprofits will get 20 free pints a month to just hand out to the volunteers as a way to say thank you, and then they can come into the tap room and redeem that pint.
Excellent.
So we're very excited about that program. Love the list of 5 nonprofits that we have this year, and may switch it up the next year, but exciting program.
Great. And people can find that list on your Facebook page, I imagine, or website?
Yep.
All right. Excellent. I tell you that there has always been a strong connection between the communities and the breweries and vice versa with pint nights and charity nights, and people will just come to expect that because the places that people are protecting, or the things, the ideas that people are trying to conserve, they're out there enjoying it, and then at the end of the day they come and they have a beer with their friends, right? And it goes hand in hand. We're really close to 2016 now. The year end of the year's coming. Any highlights, any tips, anything that you can share with us about what's in store for DraftWorks in 2016?
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing on our radar, and we've started actually planning and working, is the climbing gym next door to us. Freestone Climbing has done really well, and they have outgrown their facility there. They're going to be moving down the street to a nicer or a bigger facility.
Okay.
And that gives us the opportunity to jump into their footprint, and in doing so, we're going into cans.
Excellent.
And so we hope that by the end of 2016, you will find some of our beer at your favorite grocery store.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good. I hope when you debut them, you keep the rock wall and you put all the cans up high. And if you want the first can of DraftWorks beer, I don't know. We'll have to have the lawyers figure that out.
Brilliant idea.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, congratulations. You're getting in cans. You guys have heard it here at the Last Best Beer Show. You'll be able to get your beer at DraftWorks or at your favorite grocery store. Really excited. Thank you so much, Jeff, Paul, for coming down here and talking about all these good things.
Yeah, thank you.
It is Newstalk KGVO 1290 and 101.5 FM. Time for the last best beer show. We are back in action with our host, Ryan Newhouse.
Thanks a lot. And I've got some interesting news here this week, with some national news. And one very popular beer is planning to go vegan. Now, that might seem a little confusing, right? You'd think all beer is made with, well, hops, barley, water, and yeast. All right, so what could it be that would need to be changed in one popular beer?
I would say the yeast.
Well, see, it's tricky. So I'll tell you, Guinness. You've probably had a Guinness or two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, delicious. Guinness is not technically vegetarian or vegan because they use something called isinglass. And it is a gelatin that's made from fish bladder.
Oh,
Yes.
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
All the vegans out there are freaking out. No!
What is going on with their beer? Yes, Guinness forever has used this gelatin from fish bladders. And what they do is filter the yeast particles with this gelatin.
That makes
Yes, so it is not animal-free.
non-vegan.
Non-vegan. However, in 2016, Guinness has vowed to make it suitable for vegetarians who have been looking for an alternative solution. So, yes, that's it. We're going to see some vegan beer. Now, other popular beers that people have already been drinking, of course, any Anheuser-Busch and Heineken, Miller, and I would dare to say most craft beer has always been vegan. No fish bladder involved.
Interesting enough. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of your dark beers there.
Oh, Guinness is about as dark as they come, and I do like it. But tell us about what you got.
Well, good news for men who prefer the dark beers, such as porters and stouts, as they can expect a boost in libido and a longer, more intense erection. Yeah, I know it sounds a little weird, but actually the chemical makeup, I guess, in the sheets intensifies with a couple of pints of beer, and especially if it's like a Guinness or a porter stout type of beer, something darker. But I guess they say that it's full of phytoestrogens in the alcohol that are scientifically proven to delay orgasms and make you last longer. So I think every man out there right now is telling his wife or sweetie pie, honey, see, I have to drink beer.
That's right. And now, instead of going to their favorite pale ale, they're going to say, honey, I want the darkest beer you can find on the shelf.
And she's going to say, okay.
Okay.
It's the last best beer show. Ryan Newhouse, Newstalk, KGVO.com, 365 and 24/7, or 1290 AM and 101.5 FM on the dial.
This is Ryan Newhouse in the Last Best Beer Show, and I'm joined this week by Spokes Mobile Canning out of Spokane, Washington. And this is owned by Abby Spear and Amanda Mead. So I've got Abby on the line with me. Abby, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. So tell me and our listeners what Spokes Mobile Canning is, what you do.
So Spokes Mobile Canning is a packaging solution for small to mid-sized breweries or emergency services for breweries that already package their product.
Okay.
If they say something happens with their canning line and they need to fulfill a deadline or something with their distributors, we can come in and help can form in an emergency situation. But basically what we do is we have a canning line that we drive around to different breweries all around Washington, northern Idaho, and Montana.
And you pull that, it's in a big trailer, right? Big, huge trailer?
Yes, an 18-foot enclosed trailer. It's where all of our equipment lives. And whenever we get to our destination, everything comes out of the trailer, and we roll it as close to the bright tank as we possibly can and hook up and can beer.
Now, your business partner, Amanda, has some connection to Montana. Is that right?
Yeah, she is from Montana. She was born and raised in northeast Montana, up near Canada and North Dakota.
Okay.
Kind of the no man's land.
Yep.
We've got some ties to Montana in that sense. You know, we lived there for a while, and we still love that place. So
Yeah.
we love the beer that comes out of that state.
We do too. That's what it's about. Now, speaking of Montana beer, because I've seen you guys several times in Missoula and other places, but you actually do service and can some of the Montana beers that are made here. So you want to name a couple, name drop a little bit?
Yeah, actually, two of our clients that we have are in Great Falls. We can for Mighty Mo Brewing. We've been canning with them for about a year. And then Black Eagle Brewing, who just started up. They're a fairly new brewery, but we've canned with them twice already, and we're going to be back over that way in actually just like 2 weeks to can some more beer with those guys.
Oh, beautiful.
We've been talking to the guys up at Hot Homestead Ales.
HA Brewing in Eureka.
Yes, they're awesome guys, and their beer is fantastic as well. And then we've also been kind of in touch with the guys over at Draftworks as well. So
excellent.
Yeah.
They are very excited. They actually are just announced here on the Last Best Beer Show that they will be canning in 2016. So they're very excited for that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So going back for Mighty Mo Brewing, do you have a special can that you use for them?
Actually, with Black Eagle and with Mighty Mo, both of them use our shrink sleeve can. So it's not a printed can. Okay. It's not a pressure-sensitive can. It's like a plastic label that goes around the can, and it goes through a heat tunnel and shrinks onto the can. They're actually super nice. And they're very cost-effective for you and the breweries, right? Because they don't have to order pre-printed cans. They can just order the labels. It's actually a lot easier, a lot more feasible to do, especially now with the can situation, to do a shrink sleeve can versus a printed can. So excellent. That makes it really nice. Very cool. Well, we talk a lot about the popularity of canned beers, and certainly in Montana, from a recreation standpoint, to be able to bring beer out with you on the rivers or backpacking. But I guess, honestly, we could have a little bit too much of a good thing. And so I've been reading here most recently on Forbes.com and also in relation to the possible merger between InBev and Miller Coors, that maybe down the line we might look at a shortage in cans, and I don't know if you could speak to that. Yeah, actually, we're experiencing that right now in the industry. Cans have become popular all across the United States, and there's only so many manufacturers and so much that they can set aside for the craft industry. So that's huge. They've kind of oversold their stock, and they're committed to the bigger guys. They've got bigger commitments with them. So that's the one that I would recommend, just because of ease of access and, I don't know, my own personal appeal, I guess. Sure. Well, you're in the industry. You've seen it, and you know what's best. Talk about your canning line for just a second. How many cans per minute can you work? Sure. So we run a 4-head Wild Goose canning line. It's the MC250. It's an awesome machine. We can bust out about 30, I think at most about 36 to 38 cans a minute, depending on, if we're under perfect conditions, which doesn't always happen, but that's okay. Right. But we typically run at about 36 cans a minute on that. So 36 a minute. 36 cans a minute. Yeah, so a little over about a case and a half a minute, a case and a quarter a minute. Excellent. Well, that's more than people can drink, so you're on the best end of that equation, right? Yes, yes. Awesome. Well, Abby, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. And if there are any breweries out there that are listening, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you and talk about canning? Sure. Best way to get in touch with us is to shoot us an email at spokesmobilecanning@gmail.com or visit our website at spokesmobilecanning.com. Excellent. Yeah. We'll also put up a link at the Last Best Beer radio show on Facebook. You can find us there. So enjoy, and we look forward to catching up with you on your next trip through Missoula. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for another great show, Missoula, and we look forward to being back here next week, same time, same place. And before you go, I want to tell you about our next adventure, which is happening in December. It's called Business and Brews. Please join us live. We will be out at Imagination Brewing Company on Thursday, December 3rd from 6 to 7 p.m. for our first presentation. This presentation is called Philanthropy and Volunteerism 101. We're going to be featuring
3 speakers from Missoula area nonprofits that will talk about how you can effectively give your time and money this holiday season and beyond and make a positive impact in your city. So join us for some delicious beer at Imagination Brewing Company. It's 1 hour, but we leave some time to linger and ask questions and enjoy more beer. But save the date, Thursday, December 3rd. And for more details, catch up with us at the Last Best Beer Show on Facebook. Until next week, cheers, Missoula.